I'm Dawn Montefusco, life coach for writers and creatives, and this is the Ultimate Writer Series, how to break through resistance, ignite the muse, and honor your soul's calling. And today we have an awesome dear friend and fabulous writer, Lizzie Post. She is the great-great-granddaughter of American etiquette expert Emily Post. She is a co-president of the Emily Post Institute, where she has worked for the past 12 years as an author and spokesperson. She's the author and co-author of several books on etiquette, and Lizzie delights in being the co-host of the Institute's weekly podcast, Awesome Etiquette. Her newest book, Higher Etiquette, A Guide to the World of Cannabis from Dispensaries to Dinner Parties, explores and celebrates legalized cannabis culture. Woohoo! That felt good to read.
It's a fun book.
It just felt great to read about you.
Oh,
You're
well,
doing such good stuff.
it's awesome to be here with you.
Yes.
I mean, we've been a part of each other's lives since I was probably 11 or 12 years old. So it's really cool to see us all grown up.
I know. It's almost weird.
I know, right?
And it's so great that you're doing the big work. When I was, this is no joke. I must have been at least 15. So 15 or 16 years old, a book came out called The Emperor Wears No Clothes, all about why marijuana should be legalized and cannabis should be legalized. And I went to the library with Nichols, copied the whole book in three copies of it. And I gave it one to my mom, one to my dad, and one to my doctor at 15 years old. And I said, you know, you guys drink and smoke all you want, but we should not go to jail, and this should not be illegal. And I wasn't even a huge smoker. My boyfriend was at the time.
Yeah.
So you took it to the next level, girlfriend.
Hey, there's a culture, a really fabulous established cannabis culture etiquette that is out there. And so it was really fun as a lover of cannabis to finally kind of marry my favorite hobby and my favorite job into one and really get to actually put it out there with the brand name on it and everything.
Genius. Okay, so before we jump in, tell us about what you're actually working on projects, or you're on your marketing campaign for the book. What's going on?
Oh man, at the Emily Post Institute, we're working on so much all the time. There's the weekly podcast that you mentioned. So I'm always writing the script for that. I write that every single week. We do have an assistant producer who helps at times too. But it's been in my hands for a long time. And then I'm working on promoting Higher Etiquette. Wonderful space to do that in right now. And then I've got a couple other projects, really cool book coming out as an Audible original with author Kelly Williams Brown. She wrote the book Adulting and actually coined that phrase. Yeah, she's really cool. She lives
here in Portland.
Right there in Portland with you. She's actually come and hung out at your house when I was staying there. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
That's awesome.
She and I are writing a book called Mistakes Were Made, and we're actually collecting all these crazy stories of incredibly embarrassing moments that are just so socially awkward you wonder how you ever recovered. Real kind of girlfriendy podcast style book. So we're really excited about that. You can check out emilypost.com to go and submit your story, which Dawn Montefusco submitted a story for this book, and I'm pretty sure it's going to make it all the way through. Very well written too, I've got to say. It made my life really easy. But I'm also working on right now a really exciting book that is we're working on the proposal for the 20th edition of Emily Post's Etiquette. And that's the big book. We're gonna make it smaller so that it's a little more approachable. But yeah, it's huge. That's a big reference book. We're gonna try to move away from that a little bit, but still have it packed full of all the awesome, entertaining and lifestyle etiquette advice that you would really want from Emily Post. And a lot goes into a proposal for a book of that magnitude. The goal is to have that book come out in 2022, which is the 100th anniversary of the Emily Post etiquette book. So we'll have the 20th edition on the 100th anniversary. Fingers crossed, rock on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so for people who didn't grow up on the East Coast like I did, and everybody and their brother knows what Emily Post is, it just boggles my mind when I'm out. I live out west. I have for 20 years. When people literally say to me, "I don't know who Emily Post is," and I'm like, it hurts for just a second because I'm like, it's etiquette. And what I learned from Emily Post, and I used to work at the PR firm that Lizzie's parents owned and ran, awesome business and company, is that etiquette actually is there to help people feel comfortable, right? When you boil it down, it's just a way to communicate comfort. Tell us a little bit about etiquette in those ways.
Sure. So this is one of those really great things where you discover as you grow into your job how lucky you are to have this job. I literally get to help encourage people to make the world a nicer place and to be more aware of the people around them. And that's like a gift. It's awesome. And I love being a part of the Emily Post family and a part of the Emily Post brand because we base our etiquette on consideration, respect, and honesty. And those three principles cross all cultural divides. They are accessible to all aspects of our population. And so it becomes something that is very accessible. It's something that you can use kind of no matter where you are, whether you're down in the dumps, whether you're, really successful, whether you're rich, you're poor, it doesn't matter what race you are, what your background was, your political affiliation, your religious association. It's really something that everyone can say, wait a second. I can take the time to look at the people around me and see how a given situation is affecting them. Relationships, though, so we try to get people to make choices that really respect the other people that are involved in a situation, as well as respecting ourselves, right? Because you can't just be a doormat to everyone around you. We've got to find a way to find a balance between setting our own personal boundaries and respecting other people without having judgment.
Well, this new book is I think, amazing. I carry it into dinner parties quite a bit.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
It really does cover everything from, how do you bring up cannabis at family events, at dinner, with do you go out for a smoke break? How do you say that? What if someone's offended by it? Now, here's the thing. Resistance. You went the mile. You wrote a proposal. You got the proposal. They said yes.
Yeah.
They gave you the advance.
Yep.
And then you went on tour to do the research for the book.
Yeah.
With all different shapes and sizes of people from all different classes and political stances and this and that. I mean, you did a great job putting them together. Now, I'll let you talk in a second. I was going to say this. In one of the interviews, someone was telling a story about one of her clients who had gotten all the way through to this part and then froze.
Oh no.
For a year, did not write the book and actually lost part of it, and then hired her as a coach to get her to write the book. So you did not do that, thank goodness. But I'm assuming that you came up against some resistance.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about what it feels like to come up against resistance and have to get through it for the publisher on something.
Well, sure. The first level of resistance came from just the publishing deal was signed, I think December 27th of 2017. And on January 6th, I hopped a plane to Colorado. So step one of resistance was I've never done research like this for a book before, because so much of what we deal with is everyday life, that as long as you're kind of a average person in society, interacting with people at a store, in a school, at a job, you're going to have some perspective to write about. And then it just becomes, calling up people and talking to them. This was you got to travel to legalized states and get a feel for what's going on. And you don't always know what you're missing when you're there, and you've got a limited time frame. So I had 5 months. My manuscript was due on, actually on April 26th. And I think I got an extension to May 4th of 2018. So I had 5 months to write the book, to research and write it.
Wow.
And that is, for those who have taken the time to write a book, that's fast tracking, especially when you have to start from scratch pretty much.
Wow.
My first level of resistance came from just having to bite the bullet and call people like yourself, Dawn, and say, hey, remember me? Can I come stay with you for 2 weeks? By the way, do you know any weed growers? Do you know any people who run dispensaries? Do you know any people who run things like Tokativity? Like, I mean, I needed to start just getting on the phone, hitting the pavement and finding people to talk to so that my experience could be varied, because I was coming from a state that was at that point still illegal. And so the experience between a legalized state and an illegal state or prohibited state is huge. I mean, you're talking in one area code words and discretion because you're talking about someone going to jail otherwise. And in the other, you're talking about people who don't even like cannabis have to deal with it being in their neighborhood, being at their favorite dinner party host's house. And that's a really big change and a really big culture shift. In fact, we have a whole chapter in the book on that exact culture shift and what that's like. But so resistance number one was, you're just going to have to go and do things like drive around a state you've never been to before and figure out what your 15-second pitch is to talk to people when you're at a bar, at a restaurant, you know, hopping a train somewhere. So that's a lot of the first stage of resistance. Second stage came when I was actually visiting you come February in Portland, and I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, like, you know, a whole month and a half has passed and I haven't put anything into the manuscript yet. I've had a lot of fun smoking pot with a lot of people and like getting to go see grows and like, you know, seeing fields of cannabis, which I've never seen before in my life. It was like a dream come true. But you're going to have to actually write something, girlfriend. And I remember being at your house, you were away for the weekend, and Kelly was up visiting with me. And we smoked some 9-pound hammer, and that happens to be a strain of weed that really will actively engage you for a good like 2 to 3 hours. And I literally said to Kelly, I was like, Kelly, I know we just got high, but I am like dying to work on the TOC for this book and like the table of contents. I was like, I need to dive into this and I want to like figure this out. And then it was just game on. And I just kept filling out little sections as I went. I was really lucky that I had gotten a decent chunk of research done, but come April, I was still feeling like there were all these pockets of information that were missing. And I got hooked up with a woman who set me up with a lot of her clients and got a lot of interviews from entrepreneurs and was really getting a good sense from business owners working in the realm of cannabis in many different ways, from bong makers to people doing yoga classes to people doing lit classes, all sorts of stuff. There's a whole cannabis wedding industry with the Cannabis Wedding Expo, and I talked to the owner of that expo. He's actually coming to crash at my house this weekend. But it was a really fun time, but it was a lot of 3-hour interviews, talking with people, not just about their business in the industry of cannabis, but also about their personal habits. What do they call cannabis? What do they, you know, what are their favorite ways to engage with it? What are their pet peeves? So I probably interviewed all in all about like 100 or so people for the book. And then I was really in trouble because it was 6 weeks till the due date. And I had to really just sit down and, butt in chair and write. And I was writing from about like 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's the grind. And it's a grind that I personally love and hate. So I have these moments with it where I'm like, this is amazing. I'm pouring so much into this. I love it. This is fantastic. Like, I am the woman. I'm like, I am such a writer. And then you'd have these moments where you're like going, oh my gosh, they're going to cut half of this material and I love it. How can I ever choose? But honestly, there was no time to not make it happen. And I'm one of those people, maybe it's the pressure of having a family business behind you. Maybe it's the pressure of this being my favorite topic. I don't know what it was, but I had so much pressure on me to make it happen. And I loved the material I was working with that I just didn't stop.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, when I think it was 3 series ago, I chose people who wrote their books between 3 days and I think it was 3 months.
Oh my gosh, 3 days. And here I am.
Some of the stories were hilarious. about like locking this one guy who's public about it, Kevin Knievel. He's a LinkedIn, he's the guy. He's the public speaker who goes around the world about LinkedIn and businesses, and he does corporate stuff, but he's a super cool dude. And so I asked him about his book, and he wanted to tell everyone, you know, he got the advanced and and he had to lock himself away from his family for, it was like 4 days. It was like a long weekend, something like that.
4 days, yeah.
3 to 4 days, and just cranked out whatever he could.
Yep.
And then they helped him through the rest of it, but ultimately the bones of the book came out that way. Yeah. Other people say, it shouldn't take more than 3 to 6 months for any book.
True. I would agree with that. If you're spending longer on it, there's something's up there, or you got unexpectedly like sidelined by research and you needed more.
Yes.
Like, because that happens, right? During the writing process, like sometimes you realize I don't have enough here, or wow, this is really the direction this needs to go. There's a certain bit of just organic direction following you need to do as the writing happens. Yeah.
Totally. And so, one of the things I want to get through to people is that no, your book doesn't take 2 years. It doesn't take 5 years. I have my Create Your Dream Book group, and that's 10 months. And that's a lot of time to write a book, but people get it done. There are people who speed up at front and then they slow down and their resistance comes in, or vice versa. They slow down, they speed up at the end. And there's also like publishing and editing and things, and how to write a book and craft and things like that when you're first learning. But if you basically have the bones to know how to write a book, you're probably, it goes to my next question, shoulding yourself. Meaning you're writing what you think you should write. Shooting all over yourself is what Tito says. He says, stop shooting all over yourself. He's a good friend of ours and fabulous.
We put together a focus group for the
he's our superhero. Tito's our superhero. And I've noticed that when I'm shooting on myself, when I'm writing what I think I should write, oh God, it takes forever. Yeah. When you're writing what you're passionate about, right? It comes out easier. Any moments of anything of bits of inspiration you would like to give to the person out there who knows the book they want to write and they're not writing it?
I think that I would say just start writing anything. And I know a lot of writers say that, but honestly, I had to do that to myself at times in the beginning where I was like, okay, you don't have to write the piece on bongs right now. Like instead write what you know. Write what you know. So I started out writing the bits about cannabis and etiquette and why I saw them as so connected. And that the cannabis community has its own etiquette, and the cannabis culture for a long time has had etiquette. So I started there. And then it was, I would say one of the other things that really helped me, because I could have written a 500-page book on cannabis. I was so fascinated with it. And I had to fight hard to keep the science section of the book in the book, and I kept it. But it was like a hard-pressed fight because it's an etiquette book, typically have science in it. And so what I had above my desk when I was writing was bring it back to the etiquette. What's the behavior? What's the advice? What's the instruction? Because that's what I do. I talk with people about what might work in a given situation. So I kind of had this one thing that kept always drawing me back to help me narrow down my focus. And it was like, okay, so if I'm going to talk about joints, what do you need to know when you're working with a joint as the roller, as the person who it's being passed to, as a host, as a guest? And I could work within those realms and be like, this is about the scope of what I need here. And then being me, I gave them this much so that then my editor, who is amazing at 10-Speed Press, Caitlin Ketchum, really good editor.
That's awesome.
She was like a dream to work with. And she really, I turned in a book that was 15,000 words over the manuscript, asking.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they were really nice. They let me keep 7,000 of those words. And so it was, it was definitely an adjustment, but you bring it back to who are you and what are you trying to say with this? Are you storytelling? Are you trying to give advice? Are you, what is your business? What's your brand? And what's the angle that your work needs to follow then in order to be on brand?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, people go in different directions and boom, then next thing you know, resistance pops up. They don't want to write it, or they're so off base that they don't know how to get themselves back home to where they're going.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about this is that you were like, we didn't see each other for most of it. Like, I was working on another series and doing a bunch of interviews. So she was out there doing a bunch of her research, and luckily my boyfriend has done lots of cannabis horticulture, and he knew the whole shebang.
Dawn like hooked me up with all her friends.
I did.
I got handheld by like Jenna and Christian
I have lots of friends who are in Portland. And Portland's been legal for a long time, so we were just like, yeah, whatever you need, kid. But you eventually, like you said, when Kelly and you were on the 9-pound hammer thing, how have you been able to push through awkward places to write and still feel polite? That's been coming up a lot. Like people who want to write, like, not necessarily at the dinner table, but say they're
on a coffee shop.
Yeah, or they're on vacation with their family and they say, listen, I would just like a half hour to do some of my writing. Did you find in any situation you were in that was a little bit awkward to be like, I got to go write my book right now?
So I had a roommate, and her boyfriend pretty much also lived with us at the time that I was writing. And you know, universe bless both of them, because they totally understood that they were dealing with a, for lack of a better term, cracked out writer. Like, when you're working that hard and you're that deep into your work, and I was smoking a lot of pot too. So it was just like, there was a lot of just, guys, I need you to turn the TV down, or I need you to not come over to the house. Like, I need you to go to Trenton's house to cook dinner tonight, or I need this, or I need that. And they were so kind to me about it, because I mean, on the one hand, I'm like working from home, so my home is my office, and I do need the space to be, you know, somewhat office-like during the day. The harder part was actually during the interviews, when I would be on an interview and trying to focus there, and they would come home and the dogs would go, and then they put something in the kitchen and something would catch on fire and that kind of stuff. And those were moments that they were just incredibly kind and gracious to me about. Kayla was amazing about always putting like the work first. But when you've got kids, you can't always do that, you know, and when you've got family that you have to spend family time with because you want to, and because that's how you build your entire life. I think that each person is going to be a little different. Each partnership, each roommate relationship is going to be different, but figure out what's going to work for you, whether that's having people really understand that if you get that spark of inspiration, you need to excuse yourself and go run for the keyboard, or, you know, that you're going to set hours and you don't bother mommy or daddy during that time, or, you know, your spouse knows that this is a good time for them to go do something else. But I think that really, Dawn, you and I are both really good at setting clear-cut boundaries for what we need. And I would say that strengthening your ability to do that is going to allow you to carve out the time however makes sense for you and your life and your lifestyle. Kelly works late at night all the time. So when her partner goes to bed, she can easily get all of her work done, but then she needs time in the morning to sleep in and recover, you know? And so the respect that she needs is often in that AM time. So I think it's really about knowing yourself, knowing what works for you, and then classic etiquette, being respectful and working with the people that live with you.
What if you have someone, I have a question, I have a client whose partner said, I don't want you to do that writing thing while we're while we're on a vacation. It was a man who said it to me. And they have a very traditional relationship. He's the breadwinner, and they have a great, beautiful life. She's very grateful for everything. And, you know, what etiquette was, how would you go for that moment of, I'm going to do it anyway. And I think he may have even done it in front of people. I'm not 100% sure, like, on that. So
I mean, definitely they've got some communication issues to work with in their relationship, I would say. And that's something that, you know, only they'll know what they're comfortable with, what their marriage is based on, what their rules are for their marriage, that kind of thing. But I do think that being able to say, what I'm hearing is that you really want to make sure that we have downtime together,
Right. Yeah.
that we have vacation time together. And I would say something like, I can totally respect that. And I want to make sure that we get that to the degree that we need it. But I'm also trying to do something else here. And I'm going to really need your support as my partner to make that happen. And if we just blanket that I can't do that writing thing, then you're not, yeah, you can see how impressed I am by that language that you chose. Not the best sample script, sir. I really think that that's, you know, you need to say, I understand that that's something that you look at as a distraction from our quality time together, but it's something that enriches me and allows me to participate in our quality time together. So we are going to make time for my writing thing. But we're also going to make sure that our marriage is really, you know, front and foremost, or this vacation or this time with the kids, or that you have time for your proposal and work and whatever it is. So it's a lot of therapy.
Yeah, no, totally. A lot comes up with not just that, but, you know, then there's grandmothers who are feeling that they have to take care of their grandkids more than they should. That should, like the boundary making. And then it's a win-win. There's lots of win-wins that people can have in their writing lives that I think that we take for granted, especially when there's something that has a deadline. And, you know, we need to we find that time, writers out there, because I know a lot of the writers that are listening to this, they might be in the middle of something, of a project, and finishing is really important, whether you're getting published traditionally or whether you decide to publish on your own. Finishing is actually a really important muscle. We're almost out of time, but I want to talk about that. How did you feel when you finished? You finished other things.
Oh my gosh.
I love the finish.
I do. It's a great feeling. It's also like kind of never there. Like manuscripts are my favorite because when you finish a manuscript, there's this big other phase that's coming next called editing. And you actually get to like, it's like your safety zone, right? It's like your shoulder on the highway. But when I panic, I guess, I would just say finishing is really celebratory. I remember feeling like the manuscript was done, feeling like everything I wanted in it was in it. Everything I felt that made this book whole was in it. And I knew we were going to make cuts, but it was about getting myself ready and prepped for the place where we were going to make those cuts and being sure that I had put everything that I want into it so that someone else could help me cut it down.
I love it.
So that was it. But I mean, for me, it was being finished with my parents who helped me edit the book. So, because we worked together for 10 years. I mean, they're my favorite editors. Also hysterical to watch your parents like compete over who understands what in the book. Like dad was like, we got to the section on like volcanoes and vape bags, and dad was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And mom's in blue underneath is, I get it. I was like, you guys are so funny. But it was feeling like I didn't need to run it through someone else again, that I was really ready for the next step. And that felt great. It's amazing. It is like all the things people say. It's
Yes.
You know, like giving birth. It's like they say a million different comparisons, but honestly, only writers will really understand when something that large is complete and it feels good, just how good it feels. And I
yes,
really
I love this. This is so much fun. Okay, so any last words for inspiration? Just anything that comes to mind that you really want to leave the audience with in terms of writing, in terms of following your heart, your calling to write, that kind of thing.
I would say don't stop. Don't ever, ever stop. Whether it's, you know, taking 5 minutes on your drive home to talk something into your voice memo or your talk to text device, whatever you use, you know, don't stop. Like continually collect snippets of anything you might want to work on. And then when you are working on a big project, don't stop. Let it be in your thought all the time. Go for that walk, go for that drive, go for that hike with a friend, whatever it is that helps you keep working on it, but not feel just stuck at a keyboard and stressed. That's what's going to get you through. Like, so anytime I started to feel like I was burning out at the keyboard, I would go smoke a joint, go for a walk, go play with my dog, go for a run. Whatever it was just change up the atmosphere, but keep the focus on the work.
Oh, love it. Couldn't have said it better myself. That was awesome. That was awesome. And you have an awesome free gift for us.
I do. I'm actually really excited to be able to provide this. So we have our business etiquette e-learning program for professionals that's going to be available while this course is live. So it will be for a limited amount of time, but it's going to be available for free. It's a $149 value. It's about an hour. I believe it's an hour and a half, or is it 2 hours of content?
Wow.
And it's straight out of our business etiquette seminar series. And so we perform these seminars all over the country and even all over the world. Dan and my father have traveled to all kinds of amazing places, Dubai and South Korea. People actually come to the Emily Post Institute to get certified to train this course.
Oh, wow.
And the e-learning course that we're offering you is kind of like cherry-picked the best, most important content from those courses that we do year-round. And it's all condensed into a nice, easy e-learning program for you. You can start it and stop it whenever you want.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. And so it's a nice way to be able to kind of take something at your own pace. You get our 5-step process, which is exactly what we were talking about at the very start of this call. Really, who's involved and how are they affected? How can you use respect and honesty to solve difficult problems? We talk about communications issues, especially when we're talking about so much work via literally text on a screen nowadays. There's a lot of interpreting and filtering that goes on.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really got all of the business etiquette classics, and it really helps you understand why etiquette becomes an advantage in business and why you should look at etiquette as an opportunity in business to succeed. And so it's a great course. Again, it's $149 value, and y'all are going to get it for free while this course is live.
Get a hold of it, people. I know all about the Emily Post Institute and what they've done in the world and how they present such great information and how they just want people to feel comfortable and be connected so that we can get to the next level of whatever we're doing. And many of the writers out there I know are entrepreneurs or want to get on the road and start marketing your book, and you're going to need to know all these little tricks. I mean, business is business is business. Everything's a business, and that's okay. That's just another form of creativity. So thank you so much, Lizzie, for being here. You're just a gem.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am so excited. Thank you for taking the time to highlight higher etiquette. I really hope people will check it out. Feel free to send it to one of your legislators if your state isn't legalized yet.
This is true. And feel free to contact Lizzie. She's happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely.
All right, love. I can't wait to see you soon. And hopefully I'll be on your side of the country soon enough.
I hope so too. I hope so too. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And one day we're going to have to get you on the Awesome Etiquette podcast.
I know. I can't wait. This will be so much fun. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Take care, Dawn.
Bye.